Yes, hello, Santiago. Good to see you. And thank you so much for joining today. Your topic is board succession and entrepreneurial development with more than 100 family members. So we are excited about your presentation in a minute. But firstly, let me introduce you. Santiago is fourth generation member of the Colombian Espinosa Organization, a family business with diversified interests in the largest private trade, and it's the largest private trader of Colombian coffee in the world. Yesterday, we had a family business here from Latvia that is also in the coffee business. Possibly they get your coffee from Colombia. We don't know. The Espinosa family is remarkably large, spanning well over 130 members across 5 generations. And Santiago has served as the family council president and has been a member of the board of advisors for the entrepreneurship committee, the succession committee, and the corporate governance committee in your family business. In addition to many other activities, he is head of Family Business Network Colombia and member of the Family Business Advisors Group Generation 6. And we are very excited about your presentation and your insights into the board succession topic and the entrepreneurial development in your family. Thank you very much for joining us. And one more technical question. Do you have a presentation or will you just give us your thoughts and insights?
Yeah, I thought I had sent it, but the thing is that it's a huge format and I just realized that it never went away. So I don't know if you mind me sharing it from my computer. Would that
Yes.
be okay?
Yes, that would be wonderful. So if you can share it, just hit the share button up on the upper right, and our colleague Moritz, he will put it then on the after you have shared it, he will share it with the audience.
So, can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Perfect. So yeah, so thank you so much. This is a great opportunity. We are in the family. We're super proud about everything that we have done with entrepreneurship. Not that things have been easy always, but the idea today is to have a very candid conversation. Generally, when I'm in these conversations, you guys can ask any questions from the audience. You can ask any questions and I will try to answer them as much as possible. I would like to do a brief introduction of the family just so that people can get to know it better, and especially for the last part, the hard part, because I think doing this introduction about the family is going to help people realize how much, even though you can do a lot of work, things can still be a little bit hard. So I'm going to start. This is my great grandmother. She was the person that started the first generation. She started not the businesses as we know them right now, but she's the first entrepreneur of the family. She had 4 young kids from ages from 15 to 5, and her husband leaves her, and she had to start working in all kinds of things in order for her to sustain her family. And then these 3 men, the one on the right is my grandfather Zenon, but they are the ones that actually started all the businesses. Their first business was started in 1929, but let's say that the business that we still have until now was started in 1949, which is a coffee business. Right now, the family composition is like this. We have one in-law member of the second generation, so it's the second wife of my granduncle. Then we have G3, which is my mom's generation, my generation, then G5, which is a generation that is growing the most. This year, we have 3 new members that are coming that we know of so far. We have 140 members from 0 to 90 years old. We have people living all over the world. So this also makes it a little bit harder. And this is how the first business that they did. This is the first contract that the three brothers did back when they had their first business. Uh, as an organization, we have different businesses. We have, like you said, we're the largest traders of Colombian coffee. We have the third largest edible oils and margarines companies in Latin America, with operations in Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and the United States. We have car dealerships. We have construction company. We have palm oil. We have the largest factory for frozen bread in Latin America. So we are a very diversified group, and that's mainly because of how politics were in Colombia until the mid 90s. That was a very close country, so there was room to do a lot of things. Another part that is very important is that we have zero family members working in the operating businesses. We have over 3,000 employees, but zero are members of the are working. Zero are members of the family business, and this becomes very important because this decision was made in 1988, that the people that were working there could still work there until they retire, but nobody else could come in. So a few years later, in 1993, when we were working on our family protocol, our family constitution, the three second generation said, you know what, nobody else is going to work in the company, but we need to give them opportunities to be entrepreneurs. So that's why, and we're going to talk more about that a little bit later, the seed fund was created. In our families, we do all kinds of things. We have been doing family assemblies. We get together once or twice a year in different parts of Colombia, different parts of the world. In the past few years, we get between 95 to 100 people. We have family books. We have family books about the history of the family. We have children's books that tell stories about the families. We have a family newspaper that comes out twice a year. We have a family website in which we have a repository of more than 30,000 pictures and more than 5,000 hours of video. We have education by age groups. So education starts at 4 years old, and it goes all the way up to 16 years old. When people are 16, then they join the adults, but we have all kinds of education. Um, we've done a couple of times the family panini. We're doing it again this year as the World Cup. I'm sure that this you guys have it in Europe, how you take the little stickers and it's all the different teams. So we have all of this. And so that was just a really quick overview to start to talk about the important part, which are the entrepreneurial funds that we have. So, like I said, in 1995, in the family protocol, there was the idea of having uh, some kind of fund to help the family become entrepreneurs. So, it took a while to get it set up, and in 2005, what we call the seed fund was created. The idea of the seed fund was that you give very cheap help, let's say, a very cheap um, money to a family member. It could be a member of the family, or married into the family, to start a new business. But it doesn't mean that just because you have an idea that you're going to get the money. The idea is that you have to do um, a business plan, and this business plan is looked at by three outside members of the family. So we have kind of like what we call a board of directors of the seed fund, and they who are three bankers that are not from the family, and they are the ones that look at your business plan, help you make it better, or help you realize that maybe this is not the business, and they become a de facto board of advisors to your business. Um, the idea has changed quite a bit from the beginning. We were very good at listening to the family members, listening to our advisors into the different changes. But the way that we have it right now is that if you're approved, if this committee approves of your business plan, you get the money that it's loaned to you. It's $100,000. That's your starting fund. That's kind of like your first money to start your business. And with this this $100,000, it's a personal loan. It's not a loan to the business, but it's a personal loan. Usually, you need two people to kind of like guarantee your loan, and it's at easily 3 to 4 points below what a commercial loan would be. So in that sense, it's just a very, very cheap loan that we do for them. Since 2007, so for the past 19 years, 47 companies have been created, out of which 10 are still alive. So if we see that into kind of like private equity, it's actually very good that we have 10 companies alive. Um, and those 10 companies, the largest one is a company that is selling now around $60 million. So it's a little bit different than what it started, but it grew quite a bit. And then we have smaller companies that are still alive, but they sell, 400, $500,000. They're profitable, and people, they get a little bit of money from them. But I think the important part of all this whole thing is that everybody has paid back their loans. Even if the company was not successful, they still paid back their loans. So that part is very important. So that's kind of like our first fund, which is that seed fund. Um, and then more recently, in the past 10 years, we created an investment fund. Um, and this investment fund is it's a little bit different, because the idea here is that a person comes in with an idea. Sorry for being redundant. It doesn't come in with a business plan. They say, hey, I want to have I don't know, a marmalade, a jam jar company. So there is a person that manages this fund, and that this person helps them do the business plan. They go all through the whole thing of the business plan, how to do it. Um, if there is investment that needs to be done in a prototype or something like that, the family member needs to invest that. And then it goes to a committee that has two outside members, three family members. Um, and the idea is that once you have a business plan and you present it, we do it in what is called the 20-20-20 rule, which is you have 20 minutes to present your business. Then the director, the person that helped you come up with the business, has 20 minutes to tell the committee why they should invest the money or why they shouldn't invest the money. And then the committee has 20 minutes to decide if they're going to invest or not the money. But what is very interesting about this is that the investment, it's the same amount that the entrepreneur brings in. So if I, as an entrepreneur, say, hey, I have $200,000 that I want to put into this business, the family will invest $200,000. If I have 50, then the family will invest 50 in this first round. But the family acknowledges that the family member is the one that came up with the idea and has worked on it. So they give him 25% more of the company. So even though the investment was equal, it's the ownership, it's 75% to the entrepreneur and 25% by the family company. And you know what? If everything goes well and the company starts running, there are two things there that are important. From day one, they need to have a board of directors that has one member that is put in by the family, one member and two members that are brought in by the entrepreneur, but the family has a saying if they into if they are good members or not, or if they're appropriate members, more than good. Um, and then this took us like 4 or 5 years with lawyers and with all kinds of different people to come up with this the scheme of how this all is. But and it actually, it only, even though we started doing it, it was open in 2019. Only last year, two people started using it. And that is because And that is something that you have to realize when your family grows larger, is that the ages in which people start to develop their entrepreneurial skills, or they want to be entrepreneurs, um, are usually in their 20s and 30s. So 20 years ago, most of the fourth generation were in that age range, between 20 and 40. So they had that time to become entrepreneurs before they had families, before they had to pay schools, they had to pay universities, they had to pay for their real life. So now that we are all, the youngest one of the fourth generation is already 36, and most of the third generation of the fourth generation is in their late 30s, and sorry, late 40s, and in their 50s. Whomever was not an entrepreneur is not going to do it right now. But now it's starting back again, because the fifth generation, the oldest of the fifth generation, are now in their mid 20s. So that's where we're starting again, and this investment fund is gaining more track. Um, so I know that I went through this very, very fast, and I know that there might be many questions. So I think this might be a good time for us to kind of like stop for a second and see if there are any questions or any clarifications or anything like that.
Yes, we are happy to ask the audience if there are any questions. I have one question.
Mhm.
Do you have an example of a firm? You mentioned that 10 firms are still, if I'm correct, no, 10 are still alive.
Yes.
And can you make it a bit like that? We have an example how this worked. What did it help? What did it produce? So
Mhm.
to make it a bit more practical.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about the largest one, because of course you always have to talk about the successful cases. Um, so the biggest one was a company that started as satellite tracking for commercial trucks. This was in 2007, and in Colombia, there wasn't really any company that was doing that. So it was actually my cousin's husband. He brought in that technology from the US, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how it started. Um, and but it continued to grow into a different kind of a different type of technology still within that industry. But from back then, it wasn't $100,000. Back then, it was I think it was $60,000. So with that, he started growing. He started actually getting quite a lot of contracts with different trucking companies, um, until uh, or kind of like simultaneously, the in 2012. So in 2012, there were four huge government backed projects to interconnect new highways all across Colombia. And they were looking for a company that would have the technology and would do the technology for the tolls in the highways, to be, how you don't have to stop and pay, but that it's with a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
back then it was a little machine, now it's just a ticker. So they went into that, and they won one of the highways,
Mm-hmm.
and they ended up selling the first business, the tracking business. They ended up selling that business, and they went into this other business, which is now a company that sells about 40 to 45 million dollars a year, with this technology. And it started with a $70,000.
Yeah.
So that's one. And I
So.
can give you also a couple of that failed. We have had two restaurants
Uh-huh.
that failed. We had one that I really, really liked, but it just wasn't the moment. But it was a cacao company, Colombia. This was done maybe 20 years ago, and it was one of my cousins. He had a little bit of land, so he started planting cacao and trying to export. But it was just not the time of the cacao. If he would have done it right now, he would be amazing, because the prices of cacao and everything have gone up so much.
And I think, if I remember correctly, your wife has also a company.
Yes, my wife started, so my the company's as old as my daughter. So 8 years ago, my wife started a clothing company for pregnant women. So 8 years ago, or 9 years ago, actually, she was pregnant and hated every single thing that was out there for pregnant women. So she said, this might be the time to. Back then, she was working with a plastics company that was from here, from Colombia, and she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna quit. I'm gonna start my own company, and she started her own company which is clothing for pregnant women. With all the, it's been she has had good years. She has had difficult years, but she's still hanging in there.
Mm.
Um, so but let's say that I think the hardest part, and that's why we started the investment fund, was
Yes.
that even though it's the scaling became very hard.
Oh.
Eh, because there is, when you start studying entrepreneurship, there's something, and I'm going to do a loose translation because I don't know if this is actually the name in English or not, but it's the loneliness of the CEO, which is
Mm.
you have a company and you're kind of like doing well, but you're still not big enough to have a big team,
Mm.
and you're still not big enough to maybe have a board of directors, or you think you can't have a board of directors, so you're by yourself.
Mm.
So she has been a lot of this has been like that. And that's why when we started seeing, and doing a little bit of research of what to do, uh, we came across the Moulier family and how they were doing things, and we contacted them, and they were gracious enough to invite us to go to Lille, and they told us a lot of the things they were doing with their entrepreneurs. So we kind of like did our own version of a lot of the things that
Mm.
they were doing.
Mm.
And we
Interesting.
saw that was something that was very important, which is, it's awesome that you can get that first amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
but in order to actually scale, you're gonna
Mm.
need a lot more. And it's not only
Mm.
money. So our group, the one that I tell you, all these companies, we're a group that is around a little bit above $1 billion in sales a year. So
Mm.
that gives you more connections and more networking
Yeah.
that you would have as a normal entrepreneur. So the idea with a lot of this is that I don't only get the money that my family it's investing in me, but I get the connections. So for
Yeah.
example, if I'm
Yeah.
going to export, we are the largest FedEx client in Colombia, because
Mm.
every day, not because of the big coffee bags that we send, because those go by container and all that,
Yeah.
but every day we send a lot of little samples of coffee all around the world. So we have
Okay.
really amazing rates in FedEx. So if I'm an entrepreneur and I want to export, I can call the CEO of the coffee company and say, hey, I'm going to start exporting. Can you help me with whomever is in FedEx that has the company business? So they would call FedEx and say, hey, this is another company from the same family. We need you to give the best rates you can to them. So in that
Yeah.
sense, that networking becomes super important.
Yeah. So we have two questions from the audience. One clarification. So it's correct that spouses also have the right to apply for the investment, right?
Yes, they can.
Yes. And we have another question, and that leads us to the second part of your presentation, the board succession, because the question is about the shareholding structure with your family. So, what is the structure? And do you have family members on the advisory board or only in the family structure? So this leads us to the board succession issue, and possibly you can continue your presentation if you're okay with
I have
this.
I have one more slide that kind of like talks about that, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the other part in a minute, and then I'll
Yes.
I'll, I'll share again. So
Okay.
yeah, so the family members is 140 family members. of which
So what
around
you want to share your presentation now or later?
in 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay.
Yes. So 140 family members, out of which, if I am not mistaken, 63 are shareholders. Uh, because of the in the not everybody from the fifth generation is a shareholder. So some are, some not, but around 63 people are shareholders. Um, and in that sense, so far we have not have a board of directors per se. We have a board of advisors. And the board of advisors consists of 3 non-family members and 6 family members. So it's a 9-person board of advisors that has more family members than non-family members. So now I'm going to share again the presentation. Can you see it?
1 second. Now.
You can see it now?
Yes, we can see it
Perfect.
now.
So, and why I wanted to tell you, like, we have done all these family assemblies and the books and the education and everything. And despite all these efforts, things are still very hard. In order to do the transition from the third generation to the fourth generation, we had a group of 8 members of the fourth generation that we did we did a group to see how we thought the transition should be and the succession should be. So we came up with the first idea was that we needed to change from a board of advisors to an actual board of directors. So when we did that, the board of directors, we were talking with experts all over the world about this and families all over the world about this. And we came up with a board of directors that was 4 non-family members, completely independent, and 3 family members. And then we came up with this whole really planned succession over basically 3 years, from the people that were the last family members that were working at the holding level of the company, how they would, for 3 years, they would still be in the board of directors. So it would be a 10 people board of directors for 3 years, and then they would start phasing out. And this came with like super, super, super hard boycotting from a small but very significant amount of shareholders. So in order to sign this shareholders agreement, we needed 80% of the shareholders. And this, why I say small but significant, is because this small group of shareholders controlled 20.3% of the voting. So by 0.3%, we had to do a lot of negotiations. It ended up being 7 years of negotiations, and it was being put at risk and putting at risk the business, because one of the things that is very important when you're doing all of this and you don't have family members working in the business, you need for your non-family executives to feel very safe and to feel that the family is cohesive and committed towards the future of the company. So we started getting kind of like that chit chat from different members of not only C-suite level, but all the levels within the different companies, about that the family was not cohesive, that they were they were hearing things from different sides, and that it was becoming very hard for everybody to work. But anyway, it was becoming more and more difficult until June of last year, when and I this was a little bit me and another of my cousins, where we said, you know what, we're tired of this. I don't know if there's a term in the US in old movies that was called playing chicken, when it was the two cars and they would go head to head and see which one would flink first. So we did that. We said, you know what, we're not negotiating anymore. We're calling on a vote of all the shareholders on July 25th. And it was July 25th at 8 a.m. At 7:15, our lawyer gets contacted by their lawyer, and they said that they would sign if there was this little tiny minor little change that they wanted to do, which was in fact something that was not super important. So we managed to do it, and we were able to sign the new shareholders agreement, a shareholder agreement for 10 years. And that's just because that's the law in Colombia. You cannot have it for more than 10 years. Um, so it was a very hard, and I think the hard part of this is that we came to the realization that once you surpass a certain amount of family members, you can do all the things that we have done, all the trips, all the books, all the education. There are still people that are just not going to be happy. There are still people that are going to wish to sell, and there are people that you're never going to have in your corner. So that was a realization that we had, and that we think that it was very good to have, because you have to start facing reality, and facing the fact that having family businesses is very hard, and the larger your family becomes, the harder it is going to be. So that was what happened in that sense. So right now, it was signed on July 25th. Um and then about 3 weeks later, my three uncles that were still at the holding level uh said, hey, that was signed. The first thing is for us to go. We named our first non-family corporate president. She was named September 1st. And the whole kind of like snowball of things that need to start in order for us to have our board of directors ready as soon as possible started in September, and we're kind of like in the middle of it, going through all that was designed for that.
Thank you very much for your insights and this 7 years of negotiation, and what you were saying, that after having done all those family governance things, and you did unbelievably a lot. And there are still people that are not happy with things, and that are still people that want to sell, and that it is somehow an endless negotiation process in a family business, and an endless development process, and that one seeks harmony like all over, but the reality is different. The reality is that everyone has interests and needs that should be fulfilled, and that we are good in negotiating them and finding solutions to stay together, and finding also yes, to form a bond among the family members in this case. I have one last question to you for today. Is there a practical tool that improves succession or planning in family businesses?
Yes. And I'm going to refer a little bit. You asked, her name was Otis, the previous speaker.
Orit Pollack,
Or yeah,
yes.
you asked her if they were a family first or a business first.
Yes.
And this was around 2003 or 2004. We had that question for ourselves in the family council, and we came to the realizations that we were business first, because if if the business goes away, we would just be family, and we want to be a
mm,
family business
mm,
or family in business. And when you think about that, and this was actually, it's very funny because I've been doing I've been doing all kinds of different I've been involved with different family business for 16 years now, and with all kinds of other organizations, with FBN, with all kinds of people. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago, in a large family business gathering in Sweden, that somebody said something that kind of like opened my mind, and it became very clear, which was, there are always kind of like three masses of people in a family: the ones that don't want anything to do with the family, then on the other side, the ones that are always super happy, and they always, you say we're going to do this, and they say yes, and they love it, and then in the middle you have people that are, if it's something that they want to do, they will do it. If it's something that they don't want to do, they won't do it. But it's not because they hate the family or because they love the family. It's because they're just interested in certain things. And we usually try to spend so much time saying, how can we get this group of people that don't want anything to do with the family back in? And the realization that they had and they transmitted was that you shouldn't.
mm,
It doesn't matter how much energy you spend on the people that don't want to be there. They're never gonna want to be there. So don't spend that energy there. And you also don't have to spend that much energy on the people that are super happy. They're always gonna be super happy. With a little bit that you give them, they're gonna be super happy. Spend most of the time in the middle. In those are the ones that you need to get to the happy people.
mm, mm.
And that there was two feelings when I heard that. The first one was like, oh my God, thank you. Like somebody finally said it, that that it's okay for people not to want to engage, and
Yeah,
that you as a family counselor, as a family member, don't need to
yeah,
engage them because they don't want to, and that's fine. That was awesome.
mm,
That was kind of like a weight taken out of our backs. And then the second one is that the more the family grows, the more you're gonna be more like a normal company, and instead of having a family council, you're gonna have more shareholders council,
yeah,
uh, because I mean, you take one of my uncles who is 75 or 76 years old, and he doesn't know anybody from the fifth generation. And that's okay. He's older. It's fine, but that's gonna happen more and more and more and more.
mm, mm, mm.
So the way that you have to treat this is that you have to change your mentality, and you have to change the mentality that you have to work for the people that want to be there. And that was for me one of the greatest tools that I've learned in the past few years, and one that now we're using whenever we're in the family council, or actually in the governance committee. We started rethinking this whole thing, and
Yes,
saying, who are we doing this for? So
yes,
and that's why last year we said, you know what, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna go for the vote, because if they don't want to, we're never gonna convince them. So we can't waste more time.
yes.
And all
And
of them, and the
yeah.
shareholders agreement passed with 100% saying yes. So it just proved the theory.
Yes, exactly. It proved the theory, and it needs to be what also drops into my mind, that there needs to be an option for those who don't want to be there, that they can leave without being like kicked out, because this is like a personal decision.
Mhm.
And it's also okay to leave, but if you don't have an option to leave, then it's getting problematic. And so Santiago, thank you so much for your insights into your family business, into your also family into the entrepreneurial spirit you are trying to transfer to the from one generation to the next generation, and showing us how important it is to discuss governance issues within the family, and your very practical insight here at the end. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
And see you soon.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.